Such confuse, very not understand. This code snippet looks like a programming language, and it has a few traces of JavaScript in it, but that doesn't look like it will work. And you're right, both your browser and Node.js are going to struggle if you try to run this. But what if I told you the code above was equivalent to the following? Well, it is, and I think it reads much cleaner, and that's why in this episode, we're going to start learning how to take that first snippet and make it work in Node.js. Babel is the tool that will make this happen. As its website says, Babel is a JavaScript compiler. That code snippet from the intro is a function definition. It's what we call an arrow function. We'll go into arrow functions in more detail in a later episode, but they're part of the ES6 specification, or ECMAScript 6. ECMAScript is JavaScript's quote-unquote official name ever since it was presented to ECMA International for standardization. Anyway, Babel takes files with ES6 and beyond code and turns them into files with present-day JavaScript code. Getting Babel set up is pretty easy. First, we need to install it. npm install --save Babel core. That -core might lead you to believe that there are other Babel packages to consider. There sure are. Babel version 6, the latest as of this episode, made a large and positive architectural change. There are a lot of proposed changes to JavaScript going forward, and Babel 6 made it so that you can add them in a buffet style. That is to say, pick the ones you want and ignore the ones you don't want. Hold that thought for just a moment. We're going to create a file in our project's root called .babelrc. There's documentation about this file you can read about, and the contents are pretty simple. The file just contains a JSON object, and in our case, we just laid down an empty array. Does that seem weird? Good, it should. So back to that thought you held for just a moment. To start with, we're going to pull in everything proposed for ES6, though in future episodes we're likely to explore more. Fortunately, the good Babel folks have wrapped all of those changes into a single module, namely Babel preset ES 2015, hence the Babel dash. Let's install it. npm install --save Babel preset ES 2015. Now we can plug this into our .babelrc file. One quick note, we could take the contents of this file and put them in our package.json under a Babel key, but I prefer this way because I think it separates concerns better. Your mileage may vary. So now that we have Babel configured, we should just be able to use ES6 code now, right? Let's see what happens when we put our hip arrow function into a file and try to use it. Open a file at babeldemo.js. We just put our file in there and try to call it, and then on our command line we try to run it. Drat. There's one last change we need to make to get it working, and that's to pull in the Babel register package. First install, then talk. npm install --save Babel register. Then we create another file to serve as our entry point, namely babelmain.js. And in there we just require Babel register, and then require our demo file. Because Node doesn't yet fully speak ES6, our entry point must be a normal JavaScript file like what we've already been using. Once we call require Babel register, Babel attaches itself to Node's require function, and it will check all required targets to see if they have code that needs to be compiled. So when we call require Babel demo, now our process is Babel aware. So let's run our new entry point. Note that we're running babelmain.js and not babeldemo.js as before. Boom, we got the output we expected. So yes, you are now able to use ES6 code in your Node app, even if we haven't yet covered how to write any. Also, Babel core and Babel register have many options we haven't yet explored. We'll get to these explorations going forward. But if someone were to hand you an ES6 file today, now you can use it in your project. The key takeaways are: 1. Install Babel core, Babel preset ES 2015, and Babel register. 2. Set up your .babelrc file. 3. Make sure your entry point is a plain old JavaScript file. Until next time, happy coding.